Okay, so I should be live, at least on YouTube. I think I should be live. I think I'm having some challenges with the connection between StreamYard and LinkedIn, which is incredibly frustrating. Oh, I've got a pop-up on LinkedIn to say that I'm live right now. So fingers crossed. Can somebody please put some comments in for me and just let me know that you can hear me? Fingers crossed. Is anybody there? Say hello if you can. YouTube people. DJ. Oh, honestly, it's that initial moment where you just have no idea if the technology is going to work. I literally feel sick at the opening moments of these. It's horrible and it never gets any more comfortable. Okay, hey DJ, welcome. So we're going to hang around for a few minutes. I've got a whole bunch of people from LinkedIn who I'm hoping will join. Somebody popped up from LinkedIn. Yes. I'm so excited. It worked. Praise every single God of every single religion that worked. I can't tell you how worried I was. So hello, LinkedIn. Hello, YouTube. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining. I'm hoping we've got a few more people popping on from LinkedIn as well. So, all right, so let's give it a couple of minutes for everybody to join. I'm just going to put a note in the LinkedIn chat. Looks like LinkedIn is working. Come join. Live. Oh, my spelling is atrocious. Sorry about the spelling, people. I don't know, my fingers move in different... Anyway. All right, so whilst we wait for a few more people to join us then, why don't we just get some introductions going? Love to find out where everybody's from. Clearly, we've got a new crowd joining us from LinkedIn. So, DJ, remind me where you're coming from. For some reason, Germany springs to mind, but maybe I've got that wrong. So, DJ, where are you from? Is it, Fark? Have I got that right? Please let me know where you're coming from. Jeff, you as well. Kishichi? Oh, I can't pronounce that one. Please tell me how to pronounce that. Kitishich, something like that. Bilal, that's a name I do know because I used to work with someone called Bilal. Come on, Ankit, James, where are you coming from? Sheshu, welcome. Okay, you've made it from LinkedIn. Awesome. Bilal, you've come from India. Oh, that's great. I'm so pleased. I have this slot because I particularly wanted to get to the India audience, which is obviously difficult from my time zone point of view. So I'm so pleased I've got somebody from India. That's cool. Jeff from Austin. Baton Rouge. Cool. Myra, welcome from Baton Rouge. I've never had anyone from Baton Rouge before. James, I know it's miserable. I am not far from where you are at all. And yes, it is miserable. No washing is going on the line today, which is always depressing. Sheshu from India, welcome. And Kush also come from India. That is awesome. Great. Oh, I'm so pleased I've managed to tap into the India base. I've been trying to get to you guys for such a long time and YouTube just didn't seem to work out for me. Okay, cool. Dibya from Norwich. DJ. Oh man, I'm gonna flash that up a little bit later, but I'm so excited for you. Congratulations. Okay, so why don't we get on with my introduction for those of you who don't know me, and then we will see how it all goes. So I am Gigi. I am the Amazon interview whiz, which hopefully you know because you found me from YouTube or you found me from LinkedIn. I was a senior leader in Amazon up until relatively recently. And I suppose it's not that recently now, about a year now. And most particularly for you guys, I was an interview bar raiser. So I now run my own Amazon interview preparation academy, basically born out of the fact that when I was bar raising, I could tell who had had coaching and who hadn't. And I was just curious at the time as to what it cost to get personal coaching for Amazon interview preparation. And to be honest with you, I was a little bit shocked. It's expensive. And I kind of felt that that was unfair. And in a world of digital, it must be possible to make content that you can make scalable and make it affordable for pretty much everybody. So that's why I started the Amazon Interview Wiz Academy. And I have an enormous amount of free content on YouTube, and I keep putting it out there. I'm on Clubhouse as well now. And of course, I do these sessions for you guys because genuinely, it's not lip service. I genuinely believe in Amazon interview expertise for all. I don't think people should be excluded just because they don't have a wad of spare cash floating around. So that's what we are here to do today. I can answer the vast majority of your questions. Just to say, I can't answer very specific technical questions. There are about 300 different job families in Amazon, and one person cannot be a technical expert in all of them. So I'm not going to be able to answer very specific technical questions. I am, however, an expert in the things that everybody has to deal with in an Amazon interview. And that is, of course, the leadership principles and overall interview strategy. So that's what we can cover today. I will say, please don't say I'm interviewing for a program manager role, any tips, because of course I have like 2.5 hours worth of tips all on my YouTube channel. So if you've got kind of general, please can you help me type stuff, just head to the YouTube channel. Okay, what else have I got to say? I do have super stickers and I can't remember the other one. Anyway, super stickers and super chat, that's it. Up on YouTube. So if you want to make sure I get hold of your question, then just bang one of those out. And of course, if you'd just like to show your appreciation, that would be very, very much appreciated. And then at the end, I'm going to tell you guys of just an awesome freebie that I have to give to you, which you will love, I promise. Okay, so let us get going. So let me just scroll up. So what I'll do, everybody, is I'll just read through the questions here in the comment section, and I will pull them up on screen, and I will just give you my thoughts on said question. So just bang them all out there. I will try and pick the ones that I think are going to be most useful for everybody. So the first thing we're going to do here, because we just have to, is give Dee Jay a massive round of applause. Thumbs up, guys. If you are on YouTube, please do give a thumbs up to the stream or a comment on the stream. It makes such a difference to promoting the stream on YouTube and in the algorithm. It helps give visibility to my content. I genuinely don't think anybody else gives as much specific content for free as I do. So if you do kind of thumbs up or comment, it just makes it more available to more people, because dang, it's hard to get through that algorithm. So Dee Jay, congrats. L6 Senior Program Manager. Oh, is it common to be told by email? Not really, Dee Jay. I mean, I have to say, I would have thought that your recruiter could pick up the phone to you and give you congratulations, if only to satisfy their own joy, because they're going to be delighted that you managed to get an offer. So it's not really very common for it to come by email, but you know what? At least you got it in writing now. You know, the offer is definitely there in writing. So Dee Jay, you are so welcome. I'm so happy. I just makes me so happy when people get jobs, because it makes me feel like I'm making a difference sat in this little room somewhere just outside London. So congrats, dude. Okay, let's see what else we've got. Someone from Malaysia. Wow, Mohammed from Malaysia. That is awesome. Edward's back. Hey, Edward, how you doing? Adolfo from Mexico. Hola. Right, let's see. How are we doing here? So, okay. Yeah, Dee Jay. So let's just kind of put this one up here. So, yes, so it is very common, Dee Jay. Once you've got an offer, effectively your recruiter is going to come and talk. Once you've been told that they want to hire you, your recruiter is going to call you and start to talk about the money. So I don't know if you've had any conversations yet with your recruiter about the money, or if you've done any research yet about what the salary range should be. But if you haven't, as soon as this finishes, or if you're bored already, you can drop off straight away. go and have a look at levels.fyi or salary.com, I think it is. Those are two websites that my Amazon recruiter friends always point me towards. Check out the kind of the salary range for a senior program manager, because that's what the L6 is. It's a senior program manager in your area, so that when you do have the chat with your recruiter, you are well armed with what the market level range is for your role. So good luck, fingers crossed. I hope it goes well. Let me know. Oh, it's exciting. Okay, Shrishti, hello, you found me from Clubhouse. Yeah, it's a new thing for me, Clubhouse. I wasn't convinced, but my friend dragged me in and said I should use Clubhouse. So I'm there. We'll see what happens. Oh, DJ, you've got loads of advice here. Okay. All right, I'll flash these up, seeing as that you're giving them to everybody. Hey, this is about a community. It doesn't just have to be me. So here's DJ's advice for you guys. Right, so he's saying, know your LPs inside and out. No question about that. I will give you one for free, a deep dive masterclass for free at the end of this. Have at least 2 positive and 2 negative examples for each LP. Okay, that's good. Let's see what else DJ has to offer. Okay, I like this advice, DJ. So be prepared to use a story you prepared for one leadership principle to answer a question from a different leadership principle. I didn't read that yet. That's so funny. I agree. Do not listen to anybody else on the internet other than me. That's so funny, DJ. So let me just break down what you said about being able to answer 2 leadership principles in one question. So it's very often difficult to have unique examples for every single question that you're asked in an Amazon interview. If you make it all the way through to the end, you're going to end up being asked, I don't know, 15, 20 different questions. So that's a lot of high bar examples. So what DJ is explaining here is that you can get one scenario and plan how you will demonstrate it for 2 different leadership principles, because any scenario that is a good example is going to have multiple leadership principles demonstrated in it. So prepare for how you would articulate that example for one leadership principle. Let's imagine it's customer obsession, and you just focus really heavily on all of the elements of customer obsession in that example. So if you can use it for your customer obsession question. But you could also then, let's imagine that there was also a deliver results element to that scenario. Create another way of telling that story that really, really leans deeply and heavily into the deliver results element of the story. So that way you could choose to pick it. That was a bit of a mouth twister. You could choose to pick it as an example for either a customer obsession or a deliver results question, which just means that you don't have to try and dig to the bottom of the barrel for really good examples. I actually have a really good demonstration of how you can do that in my interview preparation masterclass that you can get from my academy, which I'll tell you about later. All right. Oh, and there's a couple of other people I would say that you should listen to, because I'd love it to be only me, but that's just not true. So 2 other people I think you should listen to on the internet when it comes to Amazon interviews or interview prep recruitment type stuff. That is Amy Miller, recruiting in yoga pants. She is an Amazon recruiter. She's awesome. You can find her on YouTube and LinkedIn. Kirsten Fife, she is an ex-Amazon recruiter, but she's a really good recruiter. She really knows her stuff. She mainly posts on LinkedIn, amazing articles from her on LinkedIn. So if you haven't already, follow her. Those are the 2 people that I absolutely follow every day on LinkedIn and YouTube. They're awesome as well. And they're friends. So, hey. All right. So what's the next one? Oh, all right. Have some practice interviewing until you've told each story out loud at least 2 to 3 times. You had a neighbor and a 19-year-old daughter do it. You taught her how to ask follow-up questions. DJ, this is awesome. So completely agree. Practice. One more tip on top of DJs is record yourself. I know it's a bit cringy looking at yourself. Trust me, I loathe looking at myself, and I do all of those YouTube videos and all of this stuff, and it never gets any easier and less cringy. But definitely record yourself, because you'll start to see places where maybe you are not being articulate whilst you're kind of, I don't know, deviating a little bit off the path of what you meant to say. Ums and ahs aren't too much of a problem. It's not about delivery, it's all about content, but you should definitely record yourself. What other gems do you have for us, DJ? Final one. Scrutinize your stories, pick holes in them, anticipate question, have answers ready. Absolutely. I call this unpeeling the onion. So unpeeling the onion is a term that they use when they train Amazons to be interviewers in their interview training, which is called Making Great Hiring Decisions. And unpeeling the onion is when they're literally asking you question after question to probe deeper and deeper and deeper. So again, that's a strategy I also teach in my interview preparation masterclass, which is to really look at your stories and ask yourself, if you were the interviewer, what questions would you ask yourself? So you can be prepared to answer those questions, or perhaps you can already put the answers to those questions inside your example as you give it to the interviewer. Cool, DJ. Thank you for sharing that. That's really very, very generous. Once again, awesome job, man. Congratulations. No wonder you got the job. This is an awesome bunch of tips if you did all of this in your interview preparation. Okay, Bilal. Tell me about yourself. Now, I'm assuming you're not actually asking me to tell you about myself, but rather you're asking how to deal with the tell me about yourself question. Okay, so when it comes to the tell me about yourself question, I tend to steer candidates away from talking about non-professional stuff. I mean, there's nothing wrong if you have a particular love of your life. I don't know, you're an ultra marathon runner. That might be worth throwing in just for a bit of connection. But obviously, my advice is don't spend too much time. I'm a mother, I've got 2 children, I'm married to a fireman. I'm telling you about myself here. Don't focus on that. What you probably want to do is focus on a little bit of your career history, so that allows you to highlight the things that you really enjoy. I do suggest to people that you don't literally do a chronological run forwards or backwards through your resume, because, or CV, whatever country you're from, because your interviewer knows that they've either got it in front of them or they read it before they came into the interview. So what you want to do is try and help them to know you a little bit better in terms of your professional context, but use information that you weren't able to get on your resume. So you might talk about, in my previous role, I was focused on this. I did a particular project that I really, really enjoyed. It was focused on machine learning. It sparked a great passion in me for machine learning, and I've been really focused on some personal learning about machine learning recently. Prior to that, in my role a couple of years before that, whatever it is, that I did another particular project that I was really keen on, and that sparked off a lifelong interest in something else. So just to give them some context about the work that you love, the things that you're passionate about, and to give them a little bit of a sense of maybe what you're doing to develop yourself, telling them about yourself in a professional context. But I would say don't spend much more than 60 to 90 seconds talking them through that. It's generally just used as a warm-up question. Certainly at Amazon, the answer to that question will not go into any data that is used to make a decision as to whether to hire you or not. What is used to decide to hire you or not is your answer to the behavioral questions, and also your performance in any of the technical tests that you may or may not do, depending on the role that you're going for. So don't overinvest in the tell me about yourself. Don't regurgitate your CV. Don't share them your personal life history. Just give them a sense of a few little bits and bobs from your career past that helps you explain to them a little bit more about some of the areas where you're passionate, some of the areas that you're working on in terms of developing yourself. I hope that was helpful. Thank you very much for the question. Okay. So here's the next one. Tell me about a failure and how you've overcome. So again, I assume you're not asking me to tell you about one of my failures. We wouldn't have time. So I think I have a video that I put up. Maybe it's coming up this week. So go check on my YouTube channel, because I definitely have a video about how you deal with the mistake question. If it isn't there now, it will be there by tomorrow. Different coaches will tell you different things about this question. I did see recently a coach kind of suggesting to people that they probably should stick with something relatively inoffensive when it comes to a mistake, something along the lines of, I missed a deadline with a client. I contacted the client, explained to them what the situation was. I managed to get some extra resource so we could catch up the time, managed to deliver it 3 days late, apologized to the client, client forgave me. It's a bit unimpressive. My approach to the mistake question is a little bit bold in terms of go big or go home. So particularly at Amazon, they know you're going to make mistakes. That's why they ask you this question. They want to know, can you recover from mistakes? And the more impressive your recovery, the more impressed they're going to be. Now, how you get into the mistake is obviously something they're also interested in. This is a question around I'll write a lot. And at some point, you maybe made a large mistake in terms of error of judgment. You might have just made a teeny little technical error and forgotten to click a checkbox. But if you can articulate a really impressive recovery, how something went really wrong and you really managed to pull it back, you did all sorts of things that were way above and beyond and creative and interesting and bold to pull it back. And then, and this is the really important bit, tell them what you did to make sure that both you and anyone coming after you never makes that mistake again. That final bit is really, really important. So don't forget it. So if you can find a mistake where you had a really impressive recovery, then I would always recommend to people that that is gold when it comes to Amazon, because if you can come back from a really big mistake and really save the day and belts and braces it so that it never happens again, that is someone who is a really top performer. Now, if you've got a huge disaster mistake and you didn't manage to have a great recovery, don't use that. Definitely don't use that. Always have an example where there is a happy ending at the end. So big disaster, big recovery, gold. Big disaster, no recovery, don't go near it. Moderate disaster, good recovery, fine, still use it. That would be my advice on the mistake question. But every time, do make sure you are very clear about what you did to belts and braces it so that it never happens again to you or anybody else. That's probably like the most important bit that I would ask you to take away from this conversation. I hope that was helpful. Okay, let's see what else we've got here. Ooh, it's jumping all over the place. Oh gosh, that does move. Okay. Sorry guys, just scrolling through to see what else there is. Okay. Hey Bishu, welcome, welcome. I don't think I've seen you here before. I would recognize that name, I think. Sorry, let me just sort my camera out here. There we go. So let's have a look. So you're going for a senior program manager role. You did your numerical assessment. It did not go well at all. You ran out of time. Okay. Should I still prep the written example and loop, or waste of time now? No, Bishu, it's never a waste of time. Never, never, never. Right. So think about exams in general. You could complete an entire exam and get 30%. You could not finish an exam, but get 100% of whatever you finished. So if you finished 90% and you got 100%, then you'll have done way better than you would have done if you completed 100%, but you only scored 30%. So don't worry about the fact that you didn't finish it, right? You've gone past that. There's nothing you can do about it. Put it behind you. Go ahead, best foot forward, do your written assessment. Have a look at my YouTube video. I have a nice video on there to help you structure your written assignment, to give you some nice structure around it. And then go into your loop with confidence. Like, don't worry about the numerical test. It's done and dusted. How the technical tests work is there is a certain standard that you need to meet. But once you've met that standard, generally that's it. Like, the loop and the people on the loop don't look back at the results unless there's maybe some questions. And Dive Deep is usually the place where this happens, where the team, maybe if they don't have enough data to make them feel confident that you're strong in Dive Deep, they might ask the recruiter for the results of your numerical assessment. But it's not a core part of the decision-making process when it comes to the final loop. So it's done. You have no idea how well you did. It doesn't matter if you didn't finish it. So assume you did great, right? Tell yourself you did enough to hit that pass mark. Now that's done, and you're going to move on. Best foot forward, written sample, and loop. It is never over until the fat lady sings. That's my favorite phrase. Totally inappropriate. It's one based on opera, in case you didn't know, because usually, anyway, it's not over until it's over. Chin up, Bishu, right? Chin up. You did enough to get that pass mark. I'm telling you, you did. Now move on and do the next bit. I have my fingers tightly crossed for you, but please believe in yourself. If you've made it all that way, so many people will have not even made it anywhere near as far down the process as you have. So if you've made it all that way, you are a good prospect. So you have a good chance. Believe in yourself, please. Okay. I hope that was helpful. Okay. Let's have a look. What else do we have? Oh, we have lots and lots of questions, which is great. Again, guys, on YouTube, please do comment or like the stream. It will tell YouTube that I provide good content. DJ believes I do. I believe I do. And it will help me in the algorithm and get more visibility. So that algorithm is a so-and-so. I hate that algorithm. Okay. So, Sirat, hello, India, Dubai, Canada. You in all three places at once. That is impressive. Okay, so James from London. Yes. Okay, great question, James. So you've made it to panel, which is scheduled in a few weeks. Okay. If you don't fully understand the question or leadership principle, is it okay to ask the interviewer to clarify their question? Yes. Absolutely. If you don't understand what they're asking you, by all means, ask them to clarify it. The one thing I would say to maybe not do, because I personally wasn't a fan when people asked this of me, was to ask them specifically what leadership principle they're asking of you. Now, I know some interviewers don't mind it so much. And actually, I have heard that some interviewers even volunteer it, which is, I guess, very helpful. But generally, I wasn't overly keen because I always worried that I would end up just getting the candidate's stock answer that they pre-prepared for customer obsession, and that they weren't really thinking about the question that I asked and giving me the right example for that question. But in almost all situations, if you don't understand something, you should ask clarifying questions. It's very, very common to sit around a table in Amazon at a meeting and have very senior people saying, I read this bit, but I didn't quite understand it. Could you just explain it to me in a different way? Or can I just ask a clarifying question because I didn't quite understand it? Nobody in Amazon, I think, is ever embarrassed to admit that they don't understand something. So if that happens every day in meetings, then absolutely, you should be perfectly comfortable doing that in an interview. It's supposed to be a dialogue. It's honestly not supposed to be an interrogation. So feel free to play your part and ask those clarifying questions. And the same goes, I know, of technical interviews. Any of you SDEs that are out there, asking clarifying questions is actually a very important part of the interview process when you're going through your technical part. Your ability to ask clarifying questions is actually something that you're scored on in terms of your capabilities when it comes to being an SDE. And I think that's just really good evidence of how open Amazon is and wants people to ask clarifying questions. So I hope that helps, James, and good luck. If you've got a few weeks to go, you've got plenty of time to prep. So I hope all your prep goes well. Follow DJ's tips. They were very good ones. Gurenda Singh, hello. Thank you for joining. Okay. Ramcharana. Okay, so I'm going to be quick with this one because I actually don't believe there is a fixed time frame for how long it takes to hear back. I've heard people of it taking a month, which I've got to be honest, I don't think is a great customer experience, but I have heard that. I've heard other people hearing within a day or two. So it's a bit of a how long's a piece of string question, Ramcharan. I think a lot depends on your recruiter, the person who's on the other side of the screen picking up that data and what else they have on their plate at the time. So if it's been a while for you, I don't know, let's say a week or more, why don't you just message back your recruiter if you have a direct email address for them, or message any email address that you have access to and just ask them for an update on where things are. So fingers crossed for you. I hope the outcome is a good one for you. Okie dokie. What else have we got here then? Just scrolling through. Okay. Okay. Hey, Alieka. Oh, welcome back. Hello. I recognize you. So you've been through 2 rounds and you're waiting for next steps. Is there any chance before you complete the interview process that it will be filled? Yes, it is. There is a chance, I'm afraid. So for those of you that don't know, Amazon runs a first past the post process, which is unlike many other companies who open up a job, gather all the resumes, close down applications, compare all the resumes, filter out those they don't want, take those that they do, move them all onto a first round, make them all do a first round, compare them all in the first round, decide who they don't want to pass on to the next round and then who they do, so on and so forth, until there's a last man standing, if you like. What Amazon does is a conveyor belt. So your resume comes in and is considered in its own right. If it's passed through to the hiring manager or they read it as it comes through, you'll then maybe do an online assessment. Off you go and do your online assessment. You may do well in your online assessment and off you go. You get passed on to round 1. Whilst all that's happening to you, there are other people coming in behind you on the conveyor belt going through exactly the same process. So what can happen is that somebody else might be ahead of you on the conveyor belt, and it is possible that they make it all the way through to Loop and get an inclined offer before you make your way up to Loop. That's just the Amazon process. It's generally, I'm a fan of it because I think what it means is that you don't spend forever hoping that somebody better will come along. You have a standard because everyone is compared to a standard rather than everybody else who's applying for the job. You're not trying to hire the best applicant. You're trying to hire someone who raises the bar against 50% of the current population operating at that level. And so it makes for good, agile, quick decision making. So I'm a fan of it on kind of the interviewing, the company side of things. It can be a bit harsh when it comes to the candidate side of things if someone got in there just ahead of you. Yes, it is possible. What I do say to people is when you're asked, when would you like your interview? Because I know you often get a choice. You just need to balance in terms of speed and quality. This is the usual tension you get in business, right? Where you need to make sure that you do have enough time to prepare really, really well, but you don't want to wait too long just in case somebody does get ahead of you. So I hope that was helpful for you, Alieka. Alekia, I'm going for that. Apologies if I've mispronounced that. Okay, what else do we have here then? Okay, Ashish, hello. So you've got your written example on innovation. Yes, there's 2 questions usually. Innovation is one of them. How detailed or concise should you be? This is for a senior product manager. Well, you've got a limit of 2 pages, so don't go over the 2 pages. With 2 pages as your limit, then I can't tell you exactly how many words you should be writing. No more than the 2 pages, that's for sure. It's going to depend on the complexity of your project, Ashish. If it's not that complex and you can write it in 1,000 words and give enough detail in terms of the behaviors you demonstrated have a very clear structure, provide all of the relevant context, provide all of the relevant data, etc., then, you know, that's cool, 1,000 words. If it's a much more complex project and you need to invest more time and, you know, words in explaining it in detail, then that's fine as well. It really isn't about the length that matters. It's about the appropriateness of the length to the complexity of the example that you're giving. So write it out and then go back and ask yourself whether every single word that you have written is needed. If it doesn't provide context, if it doesn't provide behavioral information, and if it doesn't provide information on outcomes, then lose it. Edit it to within an inch of its life, and you may find yourself dropping down a few hundred words versus your original version. But there's no ideal length. There's only the appropriate length for the complexity of the example. And that is the test, right? The test is, can you write the appropriate length document for the subject matter? That's at the heart of it. So really, only you can decide. No one can tell you what the right length is unless they know the subject matter as well as you do. I hope that was helpful. I know it was a bit of a non-answer, but you've hit the heart of the challenge. Okay. What else do we have then? Okay, Brian. Oh, Brian, okay. You had your loop on Friday. Of course you did. Yes, Brian's a regular, everybody. So can the bar raiser change opinion in the debrief? Well, anybody can change opinion in the debrief, Brian, because this is how it works. Everybody has written down and placed their vote, what they believe should be the outcome. And then once that happens, everybody reads everybody else's notes before they go into the debrief. So that collective set of evidence can change anybody's mind, because it may be that I'm hugely inclined towards a candidate, but then when I read all of the information from everybody else, I discover that maybe my interview was a bit better than everybody else's interview, or vice versa. I might have had a shocking interview with a candidate, but everybody else's interviews were really, really good. My job as a bar raiser, or even as an interviewer at Amazon, is to be open-minded. You're supposed to assess all of the data, not just make your decision based on your own experience. That's a very, very important skill that is deeply drummed into interviewers. So if your bar raiser, if you didn't have a great interview with your bar raiser, but you had a really good interview with everyone else, your bar raiser will see that. And they may well change their mind. I changed my mind many times as a bar raiser in both directions. Now, if after all the evidence, let's pretend, Brian, that you did have a bad interview. Now, bear in mind, there's no correlation. There's a proven that there's no correlation between how a candidate feels an interview went and how an interviewer felt an interview went. But that's aside, let's pretend that actually your bar raiser felt that you didn't have a strong interview. And they read all of the other data. And even having read all of the other data, they are still not convinced that you are a bar raising candidate. It is possible for everyone else to vote in favor of you being hired, and for your bar raiser to do what's called hold a veto, which is whereby they absolutely are not convinced, regardless of what everyone else is saying, and they can choose to block a hire decision for you. It's very rare, Brian. I've done 2 vetoes, I think 2 vetoes in my entire bar raiser career. It's really, really a very, very last resort. It actually doesn't look very favorable on bar raisers if they have to veto, because it means they haven't done their job properly, really. They haven't explored all of the data and managed to create some kind of common dialogue between everybody. So vetoes are very, very rare. But bar raisers will flip their view all the time. Interviewers will flip their view all the time, because what you do is you go in with an open mind. You look at everybody's data and you base your decision on everybody's data, not just your own. So bear in mind, Brian, there's no correlation proven between what a candidate thinks an interview outcome was and what the interviewer thinks the interview outcome was. So even though you may think that you didn't have a great one with your bar raiser, that may not be the case at all. So as I said, it ain't over until the fat lady sings. Fingers crossed for you, Brian. Please do let me know. Okay. Did someone take a note of the 2 names I recommended to watch other than her on YouTube? So that's funny, Ashish. Amy Miller, Recruiting in Yoga Pants. I actually have her as a featured channel on my YouTube. The other one is Kristen Fife. She isn't on YouTube. She is on LinkedIn. I will also put this live as a playback on YouTube. So if you still haven't got it, you can come back and I'll have it marked up for you and you can see their names there. Okay. There we go, Bilal. Okay. So is it important that every answer should be given with a case or an experience story? You kind of don't have a choice, to be honest with you, because the way that an Amazon interview should be conducted is using behavioral questions, which will be, tell me about a time when, usually. Now, sometimes interviewers do ask hypothetical questions. What would you do if? I'm not a fan of that, and it's not a methodology that's really encouraged in Amazon. But if it does happen to you, my biggest tip is actually to try and find an example from your past, if you can, that matches that hypothetical question, because then that is actual proof, evidence that you can behave and do a really good job in that particular scenario. If you don't have a scenario, then of course you're going to have to go ahead with some kind of a hypothetical and try and give the interviewer your best guess of what you would do. But as a bar raiser, for me, that's not evidence of your ability. That's evidence of you being able to say the right thing. There may well be a difference between what you actually say you would do and when kind of the rubber hits the road, what you would actually do. So as a bar raiser, I would never be overly keen on someone asking hypothetical questions, because to me, it's just not evidence. It might happen. If it does, try and pull some real behavioral evidence forward, because your bar raiser will value that much more than some kind of hypothetical, made up, wishful thinking example. I hope that helps. Mohammed, why Amazon question? So I actually have a really good, well, I think it's a really good, and it's my most popular video on YouTube about why Amazon and how best to structure your answer. So I'm going to tell you to head on over to YouTube channel where you are already and go and have a look at that content, because it's quite detailed and it would take me quite a long time to go over it now, but it's all there in video. You can pause it, make notes. You can even buy the notes. I have actually documented all of the notes in PDF form for my YouTube channel, because people were telling me they were sick of writing it down. So I do have links at the bottom of every single one of my YouTube videos, as well as this one, I think, that you can go and snaffle yourself PDF versions of all of the videos. So I hope that helps as well. Okay. Hey, Jasir, how you doing? Is it normal for Amazon to ask for contact details of references following a loop? So I think you mean before you've heard the outcome, because obviously if you're gotten inclined, obviously they would want references. So is it normal for them to ask details of references before that happens? I find that hard to answer, actually, because I've never been a recruiter. I've not been on that side of the fence. I'm a hiring manager, I'm a bar raiser, but the kind of the background checks and things like that was never part of my remit. I mean, gut tells me it wouldn't be very efficient to go out and gather those references before you know whether someone's been hired or not. But it is very possible that your recruiter is just trying to get their ducks in a row, get the information from you ahead of time, and then should you get a positive outcome, to be able to just start contacting those people. I'm not sure I would suggest that it is any type of a positive indicator to outcome ahead of the outcome debrief answers. Okay. So this is a good one. Thank you, Mohammed. Okay. Now this, I'm afraid, is a bit controversial, my answer to this. So you'll see plenty of coaches online that tell you that you need to use question time to ask really smart questions so that the interviewer is really impressed by you and all of your research, etc., etc., etc. Now, at Amazon, the decision will be made to hire you or not based on your answers to the behavioral questions. They're judging you against the leadership principles. So even if you ask a really smart question about where the business is going or some of the key challenges for the business, etc., they may talk about, I think he had quite good learn and be curious because he asked me some really good questions. But if they're not the core leadership principles, the primary leadership principles that are important in that role, that'll add a little bit of something, but it's not going to be a game changer when it comes to whether they're going to hire you or not. Your answers to the leadership principles and the behavioral questions are going to be the evidence that they use. So what I say to candidates, and you're going to have to listen to lots of people and decide what you think is the best advice here. What I say to candidates is, when I'm hiring in Amazon, I'm hiring someone who I'm going to have to trust to gather data and make good decisions based on the data that they've gathered. And that is no less true when they're making a decision for the job that they're going to take. If you're going to take a job, I would want the type of person who gathers all of the data that they need to make a good decision as to whether that's the right job for them. Now, this is the only chance you're going to get to find out whether this individual who's the hiring manager is probably going to have the greatest influence over you in the period that you work for them than any other human being on the planet. So you want to make sure that they're the type of person you want to work for. So what I do when I'm asking a hiring manager question is ask them the questions that will help me judge whether they're the person I'm going to want to work with. Now, a good shortcut question is, which is your favorite leadership principle? Trust me, every Amazonian has one. It's very telling as to what type of a manager they are when they tell you which leadership principle they like. But you got to decide what's important to you when working with someone. What are the key things that you would want to know to make a good decision about whether someone is going to be a good manager for you, and use that time to gather that data. So the specific questions is going to be dependent on the specific areas that concern you as an individual. So I can't tell you that, but generally, I don't suggest people try and be really smart. I suggest people try and gather data to make a good decision for what will be one of the biggest decisions that you'll make in your life at that time. I hope that's helpful. Okie dokie. Moving on then. Ooh, got loads. Okay. Ashish, this is a good question, Ashish. So you've got some examples that haven't been implemented, so they're ideas rather than something you've done. So I generally advise people steer away from things that haven't actually happened. Amazon really wants to know either the outcome, the results of what you did, to know whether actually it had an impact, because if they're employing you because they want return on investment. They want to make more money than they spend on your salary, right? Or unless you've done a lot of work on it. So sometimes, even if you don't quite have the results and they're due, let's say next week, making that number up, but next week, but you've done all of the work, it's all been actually delivered, and all you're waiting for is the results, you can use that, because that really will give detail about the how you operated, what behaviors you executed. But if you're really high up the funnel, Ashish, and it's just an idea that has turned into nothing as yet, then I would do it, because that doesn't really tell anybody about your behaviors, how you actually go about doing things, how you actually go about achieving outcomes. So that would be my advice there. If you're really high up the funnel in terms of an idea, I wouldn't suggest you bring it to the table. Okay. Let me just, okay, I'm just having a look. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll answer this one. Akintunde, I'm going for that. Apologies if that's wrong. you should clarify with your recruiter whether there is any chance for the visa, because if there's no visa sponsorship, then it doesn't seem like a very good use of your time to do an online assessment. It's an is or isn't. They won't change it just because you got 100%, let's say, in the online assessment. They won't suddenly decide we love him so much we're willing to sponsor a visa for him. It's going to be whether the actual role has been approved for visa sponsorship or not. So if it's really not going to be approved for visa sponsorship, I mean, sometimes it's worth doing things for the practice. You know, why not have a go at it just for the practice, so that maybe next time you apply for a role that does have visa sponsorship, you'll know exactly what you're headed into with the online assessment. But if you're thinking about doing it on the off chance that somebody's going to change their mind because you've done so well, they love you so much that they will offer you visa sponsorship, I think that's a very thin chance of that happening. So I would speak to the recruiter and just double check whether that's an absolute no off the table. Yes, okay. Mayresh, congratulations, you have an offer. Well done, brilliant job. So I'm going to send you to Amy Miller, Recruiting in Yoga Pants, when it comes to tips on salary negotiation. She's got a whole playlist on her YouTube channel all about that. So if you're at my channel, you can just go to the featured channels list and you'll find a link to Amy there. She does have a whole playlist, so I would go there. Okay, guys, I'm really sorry. I need to go and let my daughter in because she's arrived home. And what time are we at now? All right, 2 seconds, guys. I'm really, really sorry about this. 2 seconds. That's embarrassing. I hope I didn't lose anybody. I'm back. I'm really sorry. Okay, moving on then. I don't know what time it is though. What time is it? Okay, we've got about 8 minutes. Okay. Okay. Sorry, scrolling through. Ooh, Ash, okay. You've got a final interview this Wednesday. Good luck. Fingers crossed for you. What else have we got? Ooh. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly do this one for Bilal. So what exactly the recruiters are looking for in your CV? Because you tailor your CV every time, but you never reach under consideration. So Bilal, I can't tell you exactly what every single recruiter is looking for in your resume. There's loads of advice out there in terms of how you make sure that your resume is really, really hitting the nail for them. The primary things are going to be, and again, I would direct you to Amy, who has another playlist all about resumes. But the primary things are going to be around, does your resume reflect the actual job that you're applying for? Do you have all of the skills, have all of the key things that are identified in the job description? Are they truly reflected in your resume/CV? Do you have all of the basic qualifications that are absolute musts in there? And the other thing is, do you talk about results? That's a really big thing for an Amazon recruiter. They are going to want to see that you actually delivered results in your role. So even if you can't give away specific metrics for commercial reasons, talking about how you increased something by 10%, 20%, whatever it might be, is going to really matter to them. Sorry, my dog has now seen a pigeon in the garden. That's going to really matter to them. So those would be the key things that I would say you really need to have in your resume. Make sure it's really tightly matched to the role. Make sure you have all of the basic qualifications off, and make sure that you have very clear deliverables and results articulated in your resume. That's my kind of top line. Pop over to Amy's playlists because she goes into a lot of deep detail. I'm doing lots of plugging for Amy. I have to tell her that I've been plugging her ruthlessly. I hope that helps in some way. Okay, what else do we have? Oh, okay, yeah, Calvin. Oh, Calvin, okay, so you got an offer by email, another email offer. It's very strange. Needed to connect with the hiring manager before giving you the actual offer details. Is that normal? How long should it take? Yes, it is very normal. What should always happen in the process is there's, as you would imagine with Amazon, a machine. And the recruiter has to put details into the system, and the system will then spit back a offer, the combined offer between base salary, sign-on bonus, and RSUs with various different degrees depending on what level you're going into at the business. Then what the recruiter will do is share that with the hiring manager, and it really is kind of a bit of a tick exercise. This is what the computer says is the right offer. Do we feel comfortable with that? They might do a bit of a chat about generally what the rest of the team are on and how aligned that is to the rest of the team. They also might have a bit of a chat about how much room there is for salary increases over the coming years if you're particularly high up the scale. Does that give you enough headroom to grow? All of those things. But it is very normal to have a chat with the hiring manager about it. How long could it take? Bit about how long's a piece of string question, I'm afraid, Calvin, because it'll take as long as it takes to get time in the diary with that hiring manager. Obviously, the recruiter is going to be really, really keen to close the deal because in the nicest possible way, they want you out of their hair so that they can move on to filling the other roles that they're responsible for. So they're going to be keen to get hold of the hiring manager. It really is dependent on how soon they can get together. So can't tell you exactly how long it would be. I would hope, not more than a few days, but you never know. No promises there. But congrats again. Great job. Awesome. Okay. Okay, so Brian, you got feedback from an interviewer. You did well. Your thought process was sound, but I would have liked to hear more about what you learned. Thoughts? Yes, Brian. So again, in my YouTube channel, I have a video called, I think it's called the Amazon Leadership Principle that no one else will tell you about. And that's a leadership principle that used to be a leadership principle and now has been wrapped into earned trust, and it's called vocally self-critical. And because vocally self-critical is such an important part of Amazonians' ways of thinking, even though it's no longer a leadership principle, being able to look at yourself and challenge yourself and ask yourself, what could I have done better, is a really, really important part of everyday life in Amazon. The problem is it's no longer a leadership principle, so people stop talking about it. So in my YouTube channel and in my coaching, I tell people to use what I call the STAR-RE method, which is situation, task, action, result, improvement. So in every single example that you give, I urge people to, after they've done the result bit, to tack on, if I was to do this again, or on reflection, or I learned a really important lesson, because that lets the interviewer know that even in an amazing project, you're able to look back, deconstruct what you did, identify opportunities to do things better. And in an ideal world, you can then say, and because of this learning, in my next project, I use that learning to do X, which meant I got an even better outcome. That's really what they're looking for. So everybody, I know STAR is big. I'm telling you, add an I to the end of it and your Amazon interviewer will love you, because being vocally self-critical is a really fundamental part of every day as an Amazonian. I was an Amazonian, trust me, it's a really important part of every single day, being vocally self-critical. So put the I on the end every time. I hope that was useful, Brian. Okay, so let's just see if we... Okay. So on that note, then, we only have 1 minute left. So I'm very quickly going to tell you guys to head on over to the Amazon Interview Wiz Academy, where you can get hold of my Customer Obsession Masterclass completely free. Totally free. Obviously, I want people to use the masterclass, think it's great, and sign up to some more of my products because they are awesome. But the reason why I've chosen Customer Obsession is I do believe in my mission. And if you guys are going to nail any leadership principle in your Amazon interviews, it needs to be Customer Obsession. It's the most important leadership principle in the whole of Amazon, regardless of what role you're doing. So please do head on over to the Amazon Interview Wiz Academy. Grab yourself that leadership principle masterclass. I don't capture your email. I don't do follow-up marketing, crazy as it may seem, because I'm a marketer, but I really hope that my content is good enough to convince you to buy some more. If it isn't, then I guess that's on me. So with that said, then I think that covers everything off for today. So thank you very much for joining. Welcome all of the LinkedIn people. I'm so pleased that you made it. YouTube guys, we've been doing this for a while. So thank you again for coming back. I really appreciate you being here because obviously I invest my time. So any of you that have interviews coming up, I wish you the very, very best of luck. Everyone that's landed themselves jobs this week, well done. Amazing, incredible achievement. Please keep safe in this still mad world. And I'm back again on Wednesday, and then I'll be back again on Friday. And I'm always in and out on Clubhouse as well. So follow me on Clubhouse if you want to see where I am and what rooms. All right, everybody, take care. Be safe. Bye-bye.